The evening of March 15, 1862, descended upon Paris with a persistent drumming rain, creating a somber soundscape for the momentous events unfolding inside the apartment of Allan Kardec on the Rue des Martyrs. This night was saturated not only with atmospheric moisture, but with an energy of profound spiritual gravity. Kardec, the meticulous codifier of Spiritism, was no stranger to communion with the unseen. His disciplined life was dedicated to rigorously testing and systematizing communications from beyond the veil. Yet, as he prepared his study, a room characterized by its intellectual sobriety and scientific tools, he felt a unique, almost breathless anticipation. This session, he knew instinctively, transcended the daily work of gathering evidence. It was a summit convened by the celestial hierarchy itself, a direct communication destined to unveil the highest secrets of the cosmos, truths considered too advanced, too revolutionary for the general public of the 19th century. His guide, the elevated spirit named Emmanuel, had signaled the exceptional nature of the impending revelation, requiring the utmost solitude and preparation of heart and mind. At 58, Kardec's hands, though steady from years spent writing down the dictates of spirits, moved with a tremor of reverence as he lit the candles, not for ritualistic effect, but as simple, clear focal points against the gathering spiritual density. He was acutely aware that he was not merely a passive recipient, but a crucial link, a scientifically trained instrument chosen to convey a complex, coherent message designed to act as the spiritual scaffold for future generations. The silence that followed his opening invocation was not empty. It was a dense, vibrating stillness, charged with the concentrated attention of beings from the farthest reaches of existence, all poised at the precipice of a dramatic unveiling that would redefine the boundaries between matter and infinity. Before the dramatic plunge in temperature heralded the unmistakable sign that the communication of unparalleled importance had finally begun. The significance of the gathering on this Parisian night was deeply rooted in Allan Kardec's methodical approach to spiritual phenomena, an approach that lent extraordinary credibility to the messages he was about to receive. Kardec, originally a respected educator and scientist named Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rivail, had applied the rigors of the scientific method, observation, comparison, analysis, and synthesis, to the perplexing and widespread occurrences of mediumship of his day. His entire codification, notably encapsulated in the Spirit's Book, rested on the principle of universal concordance, accepting a spiritual truth only when it was confirmed consistently through multiple independent mediums across different locations, thereby stripping away individual fantasy or bias. This session, however, bypassed that external validation process. It was a direct, concentrated, and exclusive transmission from spirits of the highest order, presented with an authority that demanded immediate, though confidential, acceptance. The profound weight of these messages lay in their capacity to complete and elevate the existing Spiritist doctrine, moving the discourse from establishing the mere fact of post-mortem existence and the mechanics of reincarnation to delineating the intricate cosmic laws governing the evolution of the spirit. The spirits present understood that to reveal these truths prematurely would have risked their corruption, mockery, or dismissal by a humanity still grappling with rudimentary materialist philosophies. Therefore, the secrets shared were a kind of spiritual trust, entrusted to Kardec not for immediate publication, but for careful preservation, like seeds awaiting the optimal conditions of the springtime of human consciousness to germinate fully. The spirits explained that the full, complete truth concerning the absolute nature of God and the entire cosmos is too vast, too complex, and too transcendent for the human spirit, still heavily veiled by matter, to grasp in a single lifetime or a single revelation. Wisdom is imparted gradually, in direct proportion to the moral and intellectual capacity of the recipient to use it for good, making the act of guarding these texts a supreme act of moral responsibility and faith in the inevitable. Forward march of human progress. The central pillar of Kardec's philosophy, the universal cosmic fluid, served as the crucial intellectual bridge for comprehending the Spirit's initial revelation regarding the 7 dimensions of existence. This universal fluid, according to Spiritist teaching, is the elementary substance of the cosmos, the single ubiquitous agent from which all matter, physical or fluidic, is derived essentially acting as the intermediary between the infinite spirit, God, and finite matter. The spirits now revealed that the differentiating factor between the 7 dimensions is nothing more than the vibrational frequency and degree of condensation of this very fluid. Our physical world, the first dimension, is simply the most highly condensed and lowest frequency state of the fluid, creating the illusion of solid matter that we experience with our limited physical senses. The subsequent dimensions represent progressive stages of dematerialization and acceleration of frequency. The second dimension, the general spiritual world, is composed of the perispirit, the fluidic body of the spirit, and the ethereal environment, which are far more subtle and responsive to thought. As the spirit ascends through the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensions, it moves into realms where the fluid is increasingly refined, allowing for heightened intellectual and sensory capabilities, and where thought manifests almost instantly as form or action, aligning completely with the spirit's purity and moral elevation. The 3rd dimension, home to those who bypass dense physical incarnation, vibrates at a frequency where only the purest intentions can be sustained, while the higher dimensions, up to the sanctuary of the cosmic Christs, are realms of pure thought and energy manipulation. This understanding beautifully harmonizes the scientific principle of vibration with the spiritual reality of moral perfection, illustrating that dimensional ascent is not merely a change in location, but an internal transmutation of the spirit's own fluidic envelope, aligning its frequency with the purer planes of existence, proving that the pathway to higher dimensions is paved through the practice of selfless charity and intellectual expansion, demonstrating the inexorable law that the spirit's environment is always a mirror of its own moral state. Kardec's inquiries in the Spirit's Book had already established a rigorous classification of spirits, culminating in the first order. Pure spirits, those who have attained absolute perfection, having traversed all the degrees of the evolutionary scale and extinguished all moral imperfection. The revelation regarding the cosmic Christs dramatically expanded this classification, placing a functional role upon these pure spirits in the governance of the celestial architecture. A cosmic Christ, such as Jesus for our galaxy, is not merely an evolved soul but a master architect and moral administrator, entrusted with the destiny of an entire celestial grouping, managing its progress across unimaginable eons. The core of their work is the application of the law of progress and the law of love on a grand galactic scale, ensuring that every planetary system, from the most primitive world of trial to the most advanced world of regeneration, has access to the necessary resources, spiritual guidance, and fluidic energy to support the evolution of its myriad incarnate souls. They serve as the direct link between the supreme divinity, God, and the evolutionary movements of billions of spirits, translating the absolute will into the relative actionable laws that structure stellar formation, planetary epochs, and the moral codes disseminated through religious and philosophical means on every world capable of receiving them. This insight immediately elevates Jesus' mission beyond the terrestrial and historical narrative. His sacrifice, his teachings, and his model of unconditional love are not just for the people of Earth, but represent a universal model of perfection applicable to all spiritual entities undergoing evolutionary schooling within this galaxy, confirming his stature as the exemplary guide and model for the whole of humanity, the celestial administrator whose wisdom oversees the cosmic classroom in which we currently find ourselves, dedicated eternally to uplifting all his younger siblings in the immense family of creation. The pronouncements concerning Earth's transition from a world of expiation and trial to a world of regeneration placed the specific, current anxieties of the 19th century directly within the grand, immutable framework of the law of progress, the undeniable principle that governs all creation, declaring that all beings and worlds must evolve toward perfection. Kardec's teachings stress that expiation and trial are not punishments, but rather the necessary learning conditions inherent in the Earth-specific curriculum. It is a spiritual school characterized by the prevalence of evil, self-interest, and suffering, which forces the spirit to make difficult moral choices, thereby accelerating its development through adversity. The shift to a world of regeneration signifies a critical evolutionary step. While free will remains, the environment changes such that goodness and morality become the prevailing tendencies, minimizing suffering and making the practice of virtue more natural than vice. This transformation is driven by the removal of morally unyielding, rebellious spirits, those who refuse to accept the fundamental laws of justice and charity, who are gently yet firmly relocated to newer, more primitive worlds to continue their essential schooling, freeing Earth from their detrimental moral influence. Meanwhile, the remaining spirits on Earth, having made the necessary moral efforts, will find that their environment is far more conducive to intellectual expansion, creativity, and universal fraternity. The entire 200-year process articulated by the spirits is a direct application of cosmic planning, demonstrating that moral evolution is not accidental, but orchestrated, proving that planetary destiny is inextricably linked to the collective moral state of its inhabitants, and emphasizing that the turmoil witnessed in the world is not decay, but the necessary, often chaotic cleansing that precedes a glorious and permanent spiritual rebirth. The prophecy of establishing direct, electronically mediated communication with the spiritual world, later termed instrumental transcommunication (ITC), was a striking validation of Kardec's fundamental belief in the methodological necessity of linking physical science with spiritual phenomena. Kardec consistently urged his followers to approach mediumship with the same critical eye and analytical tools used in the laboratory, predicting that the seemingly inexplicable phenomena of the spirit realm would eventually find their explanation within the principles of an expanded physical science. The spirits revealed that this future technology would leverage the principle of the universal cosmic fluid itself. Since the fluid is fundamentally energy subject to physical laws, science would eventually discover how to create devices capable of modulating or capturing the fluidic vibrations emanating from the perispirit, the spirit's fluidic body, thereby rendering their voices, images, or written thoughts directly onto terrestrial electronic media. This was not foretold as a spiritual miracle, but as a scientific inevitability, the natural consequence of humanity's intellectual progress finally catching up with the reality of spiritual mechanics. The profound global impact of this discovery was specifically noted. Material proof, offered by scientific apparatus, of the absolute survival of the soul and the continuity of consciousness would dismantle the stubborn materialist philosophy that denies the existence of the non-physical, effectively ending the greatest existential debate in human history. This convergence would elevate Spiritism from a philosophical doctrine to a spiritual science, providing the concrete foundation for the future social and moral transformations by universally proving that every action in the physical world has an eternal, measurable consequence in the spiritual realm, fundamentally altering the calculus of human morality and responsibility. The prediction of a radical social transformation, the elimination of extreme inequalities, and the eventual disappearance of war is the direct sociological outcome of the successful implementation of the Spiritist moral law, specifically the triad of justice, love, and charity. Kardec taught that the fundamental cause of all social and personal suffering is egoism and pride, the moral imperfections that motivate the accumulation of wealth, the oppression of the weak, and the instigation of conflict. In the regenerated world, the collective spirit will have sufficiently mastered these defects to allow the law of love, the supreme law of the universe, to govern social structures naturally. This new organization is not a political decree, but an internal spiritual reality. When the inhabitants are fundamentally guided by the principle of charity, benevolence toward all, forgiveness of injuries, and selflessness, it becomes impossible for them to tolerate the existence of poverty, exploitation, or the violent conflict inherent in war. The social order will be built on universal fraternity, recognizing that all human beings, regardless of race, class, or nation, are unified spiritual beings, brothers and sisters in the cosmic family, currently undergoing temporary physical schooling. Therefore, resources will be distributed according to need and utilized for the collective advancement, rather than individual hoarding. This prophecy underscores the essential Spiritist teaching that true social reform is absolutely contingent upon individual moral reform. Wars and inequality are mere symptoms. The regenerated world will solve them not through superior legislation, but through the superior universal morality of its citizens, who will find their greatest joy and purpose in cooperative effort and mutual assistance, making the political structures naturally align with the highest moral aspirations of the soul. The description of a new human race being born onto Earth, beings morally superior and naturally mediumistic, speaks to the ultimate purpose of the planetary transition and the evolutionary function of mediumship itself. Kardec defined mediumship simply as the natural faculty of communication between the incarnate and discarnate spirits, stressing that it is a physiological and psychological capacity, not a supernatural gift. In the primitive world of trial, this capacity is rare, often misunderstood and frequently imperfect, intended primarily to prove the survival of the soul. However, in the world of regeneration, the veil of matter will become significantly thinner, and the perispirit of the new incarnates will be much more refined, leading to an organic development of natural mediumship. These beings will experience telepathy, clairvoyance, and spiritual healing, not as startling phenomena, but as ordinary sensory extensions, allowing them to consciously participate in the multidimensional reality without requiring trance or specific training. More importantly, their moral evolution means this capacity will be universally guided by charity and wisdom, ensuring that their natural access to the spiritual world is used for construction and assistance, never for manipulation or egoistic gain. These are the spirits who have successfully learned the lessons of justice and love in previous harsh incarnations, now returning to an easier environment to apply their acquired knowledge. They are the true cosmic missionaries in training, whose evolved faculties will enable them to act as seamless bridges between the spiritual and physical spheres, ushering in an era of direct, conscious, and harmonious collaboration between the living and the disembodied, making the spiritual world a palpable, active partner in the governance and development of the new civilization. The message delivered by the Christ, focusing intensely on the true nature of divine love, stands as the ultimate synthesis of all spiritist moral teachings. Love, as defined by the most perfect spirit, is not merely the highest sentiment, but the intrinsic, dynamic force that constitutes the very law of creation. It is the fluidic substance of God's thought, perpetually flowing through the cosmos, holding all things in perfect equilibrium and driving all evolution towards a state of ultimate happiness. Kardec, through his codification, had already established that the law of love is the supreme moral law, the principle from which all other moral injunctions, like justice and charity, derive. The profound revelation here lies in linking humanity's extraordinary suffering on Earth, a rigorous, harsh schooling, to its unique cosmic mission. Because souls on Earth have had to develop resilience, empathy, and sacrifice under the most challenging conditions, confronting egoism and pain daily, they possess an unparalleled depth of compassion and solidarity. This intense, high-pressure education prepares them for the highest spiritual service. Once Earth completes its regeneration, these resilient, morally battle-tested spirits will become the most valuable cosmic teachers and missionaries, dispatched to aid younger, struggling worlds. They will carry the unique experience of having learned love, not easily, but through intense trial and sacrifice, providing a model of profound, practical compassion that no spirit from a world of purely gentle evolution could replicate. Thus, the very darkness and suffering of Earth's past are transmuted into the ultimate qualification for its glorious, selfless future within the cosmic family. The advanced teachings on non-linear reincarnation and the fragmentary soul identity represent one of the deepest truths entrusted to Kardec, extending the basic principle of reincarnation into the transcendental realm. While Spiritism already established that the spirit progresses through a series of successive physical lives, the Spirit's Book, the new revelation clarified that this process is far more complex than a simple, linear progression of one life after another. The highest truth revealed is that the spirit, in its full and complete identity, is too vast to be contained within a single physical body or dimension. What incarnates on Earth is merely a fragment, a specific extension, or a differentiated aspect of the total multidimensional entity, often referred to in esoteric tradition as the monad or the divine spark. This complete spiritual identity simultaneously exists on multiple dimensional planes, non-linear, with various fragments incarnating in different physical bodies, or inhabiting subtler fluidic bodies in higher dimensions for specialized learning experiences, simultaneous existence. This means the you currently reading this text is one unique expression of a larger self that may have other expressions living and learning on other planets, or even in the third or fourth dimensions. Physical death, therefore, is not merely a reunion with previously embodied loved ones, but a joyous and profoundly illuminating reintegration with these parallel selves and fragments of the total consciousness. This complex truth illuminates why certain skills or fears seem innate. They are memories or tendencies carried not just from past linear lives, but from the concurrent experiences of the total spiritual entity, fundamentally challenging the linear, isolated view of personal identity and confirming that the ultimate goal of evolution is the conscious, harmonious reunion of all these scattered fragments into the complete, perfectly conscious monad. The final combined revelations focused on the ultimate spiritual state, the pervasive reality of the universal thought network and the supreme achievement of continuous consciousness. The universal thought network, the true spiritual internet, is the result of thought acting as a physical fluidic force, a concept firmly established by Kardec, who explained that thoughts and intentions possess a tangible, measurable force that acts upon the universal fluid. This network is where the collective wisdom, or Akashic records, is stored, and evolved spirits access it instantly through the natural alignment of thought frequencies. Furthermore, the spirits revealed that the highest goal of the evolving spirit is not just progression but lucidity during the process of disincarnation, disembodiment. In Heaven and Hell, Kardec detailed how the quality of death, the swiftness and ease of separation of the spirit from the body, is directly proportional to the spirit's moral elevation and detachment from material ties. The advanced teaching was that through profound moral purity and intellectual mastery, the spirit can completely sever the fluidic bond, the connection of the perispirit to the physical body, while maintaining full continuous awareness. This means the spirit transitions out of the physical body without losing lucidity, without the moment of disorientation or confusion that most experience. This mastery represents the spirit's total independence from matter, allowing it to consciously observe the entire death process and immediately resume its work in the spiritual world with unbroken memory. This is the promised triumph of the new human race, to transform death, the most feared transition, into a moment of ultimate, conscious birth into a greater reality, a glorious and lucid step on the ladder of infinite progress. As the luminous, powerful presence of the Christ diminished, leaving only the palpable atmosphere of profound love and wisdom, Allan Kardec remained at his oak table, physically and spiritually drained, yet irrevocably enriched. He understood the immense, almost overwhelming responsibility placed upon him to guard these truths until the destined moment when humanity would be ready to receive their full light. The subsequent return of Emmanuel merely solidified the final instruction. The work of codification, the establishment of the principles of justice, love, and charity must continue as it formed the essential, ethical, and intellectual groundwork for all these future revelations. Kardec spent the final years of his physical life in a deliberate, meticulous process of categorization, subtly weaving advanced concepts into his later works and, more importantly, establishing a disciplined, secret circle of trustworthy mediums and disciples who pledged to preserve the complete manuscripts. He recognized that the very act of studying these profound doctrines serves as a spiritual thermometer, indicating whether a soul has achieved the necessary moral temperature to withstand the blinding light of the complete truth. Today, the dramatic signs of the planetary regeneration predicted on that rainy Parisian night are undeniable. From the unprecedented speed of information flow, a faint echo of the spiritual network, to the widespread global challenges to structural injustice and the mass awakening of intuitive and spiritual awareness across continents. The profound legacy of Allan Kardec is not merely the doctrine he formalized, but the spiritual maturity he helped to cultivate, preparing countless souls to recognize these ancient, powerful, and now timely secrets. The hour has arrived, not just for the passive reading of these extraordinary revelations, but for their active, conscious integration into daily life, acknowledging that the future of the regenerated Earth is not a distant prophecy, but a collaborative reality being built moment by moment, choice by every single soul who embraces the inexorable and glorious law of progress.